iPhone 13 versus Samsung Galaxy S24 Speed Test. So this is a 2-year upgrade here. If you do want to go ahead and trade over to Samsung, you'll be able to trade this in and get this at a pretty good discount, the S24. But let's see how much performance gains you're going to get should you decide to do that. Let's go ahead and begin with a boot up in 3, 2, go. And the iPhone 13 series, including the 13 Pro, and the 13 Pro Max, are phones that people are still using quite a bit. And I feel like the 14 models and the 15 models are ones that haven't really convinced a lot of 13 users to change just yet. Quite a few have, but quite a few have also kept their 13s. And you see the Galaxy S24 booting up substantially faster than the iPhone 13. So you'll get a much faster boot up should you decide to upgrade. Okay, so for the software versions, we're on 17.4.1 for the iPhone 13, which is the latest, just came out. And then we're on the One UI 6.1 for the Samsung. This is the security patch for March. So we're on the latest updates for both phones. Taking a look at the front of them, you can see pretty similar size devices, but a massive notch over there compared to that. So that's a pretty good change. In terms of just the general speed of navigating the UI, the iPhone 13 as well as most iPhones basically feel the same. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing on the home screen, that's fine. It is 60 Hertz though, so the Samsung actually can feel quite a bit smoother day to day. So definitely that 120 Hertz is definitely benefiting the Samsung device this time around. But I also noticed that if you throw the Samsung into the 60 Hertz, it's not super smooth. So I definitely leave my Samsung phones on 120 Hertz all the time. Not saying that the iPhone is always super smooth either on 60, but it's to me a little bit better on the 60 Hertz, but they still should have 120 Hertz on the base models at this point, I feel like. All right, so we've arrived at the app test. Everything is closed out for both phones. iPhone 13 sliding around. Let's go ahead and begin with the weather. And you can see faster there for the Samsung Galaxy S24 set up out of there. Let's go into Play Store, App Store. Faster there on the right. Now keep in mind that the Galaxy S24, much newer phone, much faster. Well, I wouldn't say much faster chip, but definitely a much newer chip. Probably faster, but the A series have always been pretty good. Let's go into calculator, 3, 2, go. But where they're really ahead is that they've been improving their animations. They've been improving the optimizations. So Samsung phones are so far ahead compared to the past Samsung phones. These days, they just run so good. You can see product, especially on the Snapdragon editions, like this one here. And you'll see pretty good for both there. I think that was the iPhone to load up the product page. So certain applications will actually be better optimized for the iPhone experience, and then some will be better optimized for over here. Let's go ahead and take a look at maybe laptops. You can see open that first there on the left. So when in application, it's going to depend on optimization. Let's go into Groupon, and that one is doing some kind of like pop-up. I tested it before, it didn't do that. So let's go ahead and do this again. 3, 2, go. It just popped like that when I was testing it beforehand, but you can see the Samsung actually faster. It wasn't doing the pop-ups. You'll see things to do quicker there on the Samsung, but only by a little. iPhone 13 holding its own. Let's go into Amazon here, and you can see a little bit faster there on the right. Not going to make a big difference in your day-to-day. You really will notice a scrolling speed though, but you would also notice that if you upgraded to say a 14 Pro, 15 Pro, let's go into eBay for an iPhone. I just don't really like how you're forced to go to the Pro model to get the upgraded refresh at this point. It should be standard on the base 15, but it's not. I don't even know if it's going to be standard on the 16 base. Let's go into Starbucks, and you can see that's faster on the right. I've been hoping for it, but haven't seen it yet. Let's go to Jetpack Joyride, 3, 2, go. And Samsung should actually win it out here in the games as well. That's what I'm going to assume, but yeah, I think it was a little faster there on the right. Let's go into Subway Surf. Yeah, that was faster on... That was definitely faster. I had a little pop-up, so that delayed me a little bit, but it was faster to load that on the right. Once in-game for casual stuff, no big issue. So the 13 was a good option if you picked it up. It ran really well. I actually think it's still good enough to buy right now. Like if you wanted to buy one brand new today in 2024, it's still good enough. Let's go into play. It's still actually faster than some budget phones. The iPhone over there. So let's head up out of here and we'll go into Temple Run 2. And we'll see Temple Run 2 loading first here on the right. But the Samsung phones are now faster than iPhones in a lot of situations. So, and they're with their upgraded, animations being non-linear now with the latest versions of One UI 6, especially on the S series combined with the Snapdragon. These phones are actually snappier than the iPhones now. Let's go into Free Fire, which is something I never thought I was ever going to say. So at this point, you're buying for the brand, you're buying for iMessage, FaceTime, the ecosystem. That's what you're buying for now, because from a technology standpoint, I do think Samsung has pushed ahead. And I could say that in this video because this phone is older. But even when I compare the S24 to like a base iPhone 15, I kind of feel the same way because the base 15 has lesser technology. The S24 is the price of a base 15, but giving you specs that are closer to that of like a 15 Pro. So what a deal over there. We got a motivational quote popping up on the left, faster on the right. But the iPhone doesn't really let me down. I don't really feel on the iPhone 13 like I'm using some crap or something like that. That's for sure. It's still a really great phone even now. So when I was recommending it so many times, I think I was I'm pretty confident in my recommendations. It still does really well. Let's hit play here on both phones. You'll see they go to that page about the same time. Let's go into Geekbench 6. About the same. And the thing though is, don't get it twisted. The Samsung is not leaps and bounds ahead. You're seeing it's only a couple of seconds here, which is saying a lot about the 13. But it also says a lot about the maturity of smartphones being fast and staying fast for a while. At this point, these chips have been in the lead for a while. So every year you're getting more of you're getting AI over here. You're getting improved cameras, design, bigger batteries, stuff like that. But performance wise, Samsung definitely won this one out, but not by a lot. It was pretty tight here with the iPhone behind with most apps by like a second, maybe at the most. So very close here in this speed test, even though the 13 came out. I think was it back in 2021? Yeah, I think it was 2021. This phone came out, so pretty darn good. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the RAM management. Now keep in mind that the iPhone 15 does have only 4 gigs of RAM on here. But because iOS tends to do a good job in this area, you might not get as many reloads. We'll start there with a reload on Free Fire. That one's good. We're getting a reload on Dead Trigger, so I probably should eat my own words right now because that's 3 reloads already. Free Fire, Dead Trigger, and Subway Surf. What about Jetpack? Never mind what I said. That's 4 reloads. Starbucks opened. So anything that requires Amazon with a reload, it looks like anything and that was a pause screenshot. There was a little delay there. And then Best Buy with a reload. So yeah, this 4 gigs of RAM on a phone that came out in 2021, definitely showcasing you're gonna reload on App Store as well. So yeah, this is no multitasking beast on the 13, but it'll do the job for day-to-day usage. Unless you're popping between like multiple applications, which with iOS, you really don't have the edge panels, you don't have the pop view windows, you don't have all the multitasking features, you probably won't care. So I think we know what's gonna happen here. 3 times the RAM, 12 gigabytes of RAM. I do feel like the 13 used to not reload anything back in the day though. So as it got older, 4 gigs of RAM on there. Now it's not as good. And I turned off the double swipe on the Samsung, so we get basically flawless. That was a reload on Amazon. Unless Amazon just relaunches because it has those, I think this was a relaunch here. We'll go to calculator. So it looked like a couple of relaunches here on the Samsung, but overall definitely better performance, better RAM management. And again, with a phone like this, I think I turned off the edge panels, but you can go ahead and pop view windows. You got multiple split screen options. You can really take advantage of that extra RAM when you're pushing this phone a little harder. And our final Geekbench scores are in, our Geekbench 6 scores, and you'll see the iPhone 13 actually had a higher single core score. That's super weird. A lot of people call this the Apple bench, and kind of weird that we had a higher single core, even though in the regular test, the Galaxy S24 was doing better on Android 14. You'll see much better in that multi-core score though for the Samsung. So yeah, Geekbench always winning on the iPhones in some kind of area. Let's go ahead and see some more truer performance here with the 3D Mark Extreme test, testing graphical performance. We'll hit start here, and then I'll go ahead and hit play here on this one, and we'll see what kind of frame rates they can average at the end of this test. I'll be back when the results are in. All right, so here we are with the final Wildlife Extreme scores, and you'll see we have a 2288 and a 13.7 frames per second. Over here on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, a 4510 blowing away the iPhone, and 2701 on the average frame rate. Now this is why I question Geekbench 6, because why is it so much higher here but barely any difference on Geekbench 6? It makes me scratch my head a little bit. You can see this is scoring 91% better than other devices, while the iPhone 13 scoring better than 50%. The iPhone 13 scores in Geekbench are pretty high, but here in the Wildlife Extreme, they're more in line with like a mid-ranger or low mid-range Android phone. So at this point, like a 2024 low mid-ranger, this will probably be a good test against the Nothing Phone 2A, as that had similar scores in the 3D Mark. So what do you guys think about that? Comment down below. All right, so let's go ahead and test the internet speed test here to see what kind of we can pull in here, what kind of downloads we can pull in. I've been pulling in some amazing downloads for the Samsung devices, but this is not bad either for this phone. Very, very good on that phone. Almost 550 down. That's pretty impressive. I'm thinking about 24 on the upload. That's around what I usually get. It is the weekend though, and we're looking a little bit lower here today. Looks like we're gonna hit somewhere around 21-ish, 22. Yeah, 24 is what I usually get, so pretty close there, 23.4. Now, my guess is the Samsung's gonna do around 600, 650 in the download. Let's see. I could be wrong. Oh, wow. That is blowing away my estimations, over 700 down. So in reality, I do think the Samsung has better signal strength. It can pull in better download speeds. The upload about the same, but you'll really notice it here in the 5G as well. Mobile performance, if you have 5G service, the Samsung tends to have better strength. Overall, the upload not too different, but look at that download was a pretty big difference. All right, so let's go ahead and launch the cameras here on both phones in 3, 2, go. And you can see that was faster on the iPhone on the initial launch. Let's see if Samsung saves it in the background in the cache and see if it changes now. Nope, I think the iPhone launches that a little bit faster. I'll give that one to 13. Hitting the shutter key about the same. Switching between the lenses though, iPhone retains a smoother look. Definitely, you can see that little bump there. No bumps here between the lenses on the iPhone. Over here, there's like a little, you see that little change right there? Right here, one more time, bang, right there. One more time, bang, right there. So there's definitely a little bit of a change. You can double click here. There's no action button on the 13, so Samsung has other options to get in quicker. Overall, I think the Samsung S24 is faster. In the real world, I don't think it's crazy faster, like for the average person's daily usage, but if you wanted to try Samsung, you get an upgraded camera, you get a bigger battery life, similar build to the 13. And if you wanted to try Samsung, I do think this would be a great change if you have iPhone 13. If you're looking for bigger upgrades from the iPhone side, I do think you should consider a Pro iPhone from the 13. But if you're looking for something similar to the 13, the 15 is a good change as well. Although I still think 120 Hertz needs to come to the base models. That's it for me on the 13 versus the Galaxy S24. What are your thoughts? Comment them down below. Which one would you go with? Are you impressed with either? Not impressed with either? Are you waiting for something else? Let's hear about it down below. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Have a great Sunday. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here, and peace.